On today's PMEA's Take Note podcast presented by the Slippery Rock University Music Department, we are talking about the Save the Music Foundation. What is it? What can it do for you? And especially what can it do for you for free? All on today's Take Note podcast. Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to this edition of Take Note, and excited today to be joined by Chiho Feindler from the Save the Music Foundation, a group you've probably heard of for many years, once known as VH1 Save the Music, but now known as Save the Music Foundation. Chiho, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
So let's start with, let's level set here and talk about what is Save the Music. What is Save the Music Foundation for people who may not know?
Yeah, and Save the Music Foundation is a nonprofit organization that exists really to advocate for music education. Our mission is to help students, schools, and communities reach their full potential through the power of making music. I think we all know, maybe we're preaching to the choir, pun intended, that we know the power of making music, but we really see our place to be embedded in the community, working with the community. And it's really our name, Save, is a little bit misleading, that we're not the savior. We're not coming in and saving the local school district's music education, but again, recognizing that the power of music that saved us. We wanted to make sure that the students, in no matter where they live, the zip code, right, like large city, rural, right, those places that may not have enough resources, they should have still the same rights of making music. So essentially what we do and what we're known for is to provide instruments to public schools. Now we offer a full K-12 kind of types of grants, from the general music to band and strings and mariachi to music technology, and some piano as well. But again, what we're really hoping to accomplish is that to really advocate for music education. So in order to receive our grants of instruments, the school must commit to a full-time certified music teacher, teaching during the school day in a dedicated classroom. So those are sort of the ideas, right, that we really want to promote, so that the students are getting the full benefit of music making.
Yeah, and I love the kind of the redefinition of save there. I hadn't thought of it in that way, but that really does speak to the work that you do. I think that's what a wonderful definition there and how you're thinking of it. And I just really love that what you're doing is this advocacy work. So yeah, it's for those schools that you're going into and granting to, but it's kind of for everybody as well, as far as just a global cause in a sense. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely. So we've been very fortunate to work with various places where we recognize that we can never be the only player. We recognize that there are some great work that happens within the communities, from various organizations, from Philadelphia Orchestra or Pittsburgh Symphony, who is doing the school time concerts and then sending the musicians to, some local community music schools doing the lessons, to also STEM organizations. The list kind of goes on. I think for us, we just wanted to be part of the fabric of the community, the music education community, that we can work together. Because we also believe that the one-way, or two-way, just for us and the district, also the advocacy wise, right? It's more the better, the more people, the better. So we are part of the village, and there are so many villagers, including all of the listeners here, right? As the music teachers who are really the front line, working with the students.
I think it's an important reminder that you say that, I've heard you talk many times about the ecosystem that we're in of music education, and that it is not just that solitary thing. And I think the pandemic has kind of shown us that a little bit more, as you see what youth orchestras can do that help a school program, and vice versa, all with the goal of more music makers and the opportunity for those music makers to make music in whatever way is best for them. and you guys are, help and are a part of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we really emphasize also that it's really should be led by the school and the school music teacher. Because the music teachers, not that because the listeners are music teachers, but really we believe it's that they are the front line working with the most number of students that the one can ever touch, right? The orchestra can only touch so many, or the community music school can touch so many, but the music teachers, as and I say you as the listeners, who are in and day out in the schools 5 days a week, including virtual setting, right? They were seeing the most number of students. So we just wanted to be the part of that support system. And I'm sure there are many of the nonprofit organizations that would love to be the part of the support system. So, we hope that sometimes I think there was a little bit of, historically speaking, the notion of like, oh, there's a teaching artist replacing the music teacher's job. I really don't think that's the case, or that should be the case, right? It should be that there is a music teacher in place who is really asking for, seeking out for what can the rest of us can support.
Right. Yeah. This idea of partnerships and working together, is, you're right. It's coming to the surface more than it ever was, and is certainly more accepted. So certainly you've been a presence in Pennsylvania over the years. Save the Music has been. If you want to give us a sketch of the work that you've done and are still doing in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, so we've been around since 1997. So we're celebrating our 25th anniversary next year. And then especially in the early 2000, early existence of our grants, we did some grants in Pittsburgh. I was just looking up my number and then my notes here. We did 4 in the Pittsburgh School District. We did actually additional 4 in Wilkinsburg, so greater Pittsburgh area. But our majority of work has been in Philadelphia, the school district of Philadelphia, where we've done 57 to date. The latest grant being the music technology grant to South Philadelphia High School in 2018, with the amazing music teacher, Courtney Powers, who's a known name. Hopefully they are doing that. And our hope is that we'll do even more in coming years, especially with the district really looking at the equitable lens of really reaching to all students. I know they just launched a DJ program that's a district-wide, and in addition to all of the all-city band activities and all of that stuff. So that's our plan. And then just as in terms of the Philadelphia area, we also worked with the Ridley School District, which is right outside of Philadelphia, where most of the very tiny school district, and there were 2 schools that are Title I of the, I think, 5 elementary. And the superintendent, who was a huge support, but she really recognized that the lack of resources in those particularly 2 schools. So we were able to help those 2 schools so that the resource-wise, it was an equal footing.
Yeah, and I love what you're saying about the conversations then you're having in these schools, that it's, yeah, you're working with the music teacher, but you are talking to administrators and other folks who are part of that school's community, because they're all part of this. Going back to the previous point, they're all part of this music experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially the Ridley case, which is such a small district and such a lovely school district. And the superintendent has been just a huge advocate for music education. And she herself just reaching out and say, Chiho, like, we have these 2 schools that we need to help. Can you please help? And then she still emails me, especially in the holiday season, because their high school choir is an award-winning choir. And I think they're always up for some sort of a holiday performance in the local radio. And there was like some sort of a audience voting, and they were amazing singers. And so I get to hear their, and this is especially pre-pandemic, but now too, that I get the email from superintendent saying, hi Chiho, make sure you vote for my choir. So I love that relationship that we're able to have still.
Yeah, and I've heard some of your wonderful stories of your travels around the country, not just here in Pennsylvania, but certainly around the country. And that's what I think makes your organization unique, is that you have that relationship. Then you've built a relationship with all of these places. You know, we're talking to you from your home outside of the New York City area, and so you're a New Jersey resident. But I also happen to know that you are, I believe, what is it, an honorary West Virginia citizen, because of the amount of work that you've done there, which, oh, there it is. Okay. So, I mean, that speaks to the amount of work and how you've become part of the community there.
Yeah, so West Virginia, which is neighboring state to you all, and certainly if there's a greater Pittsburgh area that is in West Virginia. So we have a statewide giving. So we're now in 112 middle schools in all 55 county school districts. And I've actually did my math there, that there's about a little over 5,000 miles that I have driven through, and since 2014 when I started starting this relationship. And that's been a unique one where the governor and the first lady are very much so involved, and making sure that students have an access. And that's where really the economical disparity is apparent, where the students really just, the household could not purchase. And then we did go to every corner of the state. So we see some areas that, that just very new, at least in the experience, in the places that there is no four-way lane highway for 100 miles, in hundreds of miles at the time, and all of that stuff. And then yet they so value what the students can do and the making music. And I know some cases, some students are still playing at the clarinet from 1920, stuff like that. So we, by us delivering this, in this case, mostly band instruments, because that pride and the joy of the town is the marching band. We've known some community where the high school have something like 200 students and 100 of which are in the marching band. I mean, no joke, right? So those really and in this case, they were really kind of focusing on the marching band, as opposed to say Philly, they were, you know what I mean? They were looking at the everything and also the music technology. So again, that and, right, it's not just typecasting one or the other, it's the and. So that's why we also pivoted to add those general music and the music technology as well, just really responding to the needs of the communities nationwide.
Yeah, I've always thought, the work that you all do is so thoughtful and so smart in how you're doing it. So I think, to be clear for folks, they can't necessarily go to your website and say, hey, I want to apply for this program. That's kind of not the way that it's structured now. But there are a lot of things that you're doing for everyone, regardless of if they're a grantee or not.
Absolutely. I mean, you can still definitely reach out to us. And then, if we can help, we would love to help. Although there's a lot of now as government funding, like the ESSA fund, and stuff like that, those things are available. And especially during the pandemic, we really launched a lot of resources that are available to anyone. So I remember on the March 12th of 2020, March 13th being that Friday the 13th, that everybody's going to remember, saying to my team and say, like, this really doesn't look good, like, can we, and we had a resource page already on our website that listed, right, like, if you want to have more instruments, go to Donor Shoes or Adapt the Classroom or something like that, and said, like, can we take that page and just kind of put a lot of resources that we can find. And those are the time, if you remember, that some of the for-profit entities were unlocking free subscription. Like it was just a 30 days, but then they're going to do it, indefinitely, or that school year and stuff like that. Let's just dump everything in and then let's just share out to everybody else. And I think the first day, I think we shared on social media, we had like a 900 access right away. And that really kind of showed, right? 900 may or may not sound too many, but like it definitely was a huge jump. And then, so I think our resource page, which now has a beautifully designed by my colleague, Rebecca Hoff, who did a beautiful job, now putting about 200 or more resources, beautifully cataloged by the different places, that really the sweat and the tears and went from my team. And now that's, I believe, is the first most visited page in our website, other than the homepage, like landing page.
Right.
So we're very proud of that. And just us being very agnostic, we are not, endorsing one or the other. We can just have this liberty and the freedom of really putting all of the helpful resources. Really, we're putting the teachers and the teacher benefits in our mind. It's not the company who is giving us money. It's really that everybody's mind. So we have some ESSER funding resources. Again, we are putting in from our great friends from NAFME and the NAM Foundation, and again, having that in the hub. There because of some, our friends putting the great resources out there as well. We also launched a webinar series in partnership with Arts at SEL, where it's a completely free webinar that is available to anyone. And we had a first one last month, earlier this month, and we actually had a Bangkok, Thailand login. In addition to Canada, our northern neighbor. And it's something that we're really excited about, that we can rely on the Arts at SEL, Center for Arts at SEL. You should check them out as well. And so we'll be having that every month. I believe the next one is on October 13th from 7 p.m. Eastern. Please join us. And those kind of resources that we really wanted to unlock, because now one thing COVID taught us is that we just need to band together. Again, band here. That we need to just really be together to really work with and work for the students and the teachers.
And the website is savethemusic.org.
Savethemusic.org, yep.
And check that resource page out. It's wonderful. Go ahead.
Yeah, the resource page it's very easy to find now. Again, thanks to my colleagues there. It's in the top right corner, it says music education resources. Just click there. For the SEL website, you can simply go to savethemusic.org/SEL. S as in social, E as in emotional, L as in learning, and then it will take you right to that webinar page where you can sign up for the webinar series.
And you can check the PMEA Digital News email letters if you're a PMEA member, because we have been promoting that webinar series as well. So the links are in there.
Thank you for doing
that you can take advantage of, because it's wonderful, and it's valuable for students. It's valuable to be part of that conversation. But as we're also all talking about these ESSER funds, the ESSER funds talk a lot about SEL, and we certainly know how music and the arts play into that. So it's really important for educators to understand that, and doing a webinar series like this, I think, is really, really important. So thank you all for working with Arts at SEL.
No, thank you so much for promoting it for us, and then with us, and then also saying that right before I came into this call, I just got an email through my colleague that one school district in Northeast just decided that they are going to adapt our webinar series as they're part of the PD, so that that district can recognize that PD hours, and they were even paying those teachers. So if any of the listeners or the district leaders, who want to kind of partner with us in that way, we can definitely do that. And I can't really tell you who's the lineup are, but there are some really, really exciting names and exciting topics. It's not just music and SEL, just let's talk about the emotion. No, it's like that's DEI, that's, special learners, that's, hip hop, that's, whatever. There's so many of it. Again, I won't take a credit for it. It's a great work that my colleagues and Save the Music, but also with an Arts at SEL that we're doing together.
And it's free.
It is free, FREE free. So we are very fortunate to get a funding from an organization or the company called KKR. So we are just very fortunate that something that's very timely that that we need to do to our students and our teachers. And when I say our, right, it's really that inclusive our,
right,
teachers and as students, no matter where they live, including Bangkok and Canada
Yeah.
and every corner of Pennsylvania.
Truly global. Well, Chiho, thank you so much for talking to us a little bit about the work that you all do and really these wonderful free resources that you're out there putting together and putting in front of music educators, because we know that the work that they're doing now is probably more complicated than ever. So providing them those resources in an easily digestible way is so important. So thank you for that. And thanks for taking the time to talk to us.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for all of the music teachers who are listening. I mean, just bottom of my heart and on behalf of Save the Music Foundation, as a mother myself with the third graders, and, I can only imagine how, much the difficulty and the challenges that you went through. I kind of had a glimpse of that as a homeschool, right? The virtual learning case, but, just can't thank you guys all. Thank you all enough that all of the work that you do, we just, we do not exist without your hard work. So thank you so much.
And I promise we're going to get you to a PMEA conference one of these days, so that all these music educators get to meet you. And because I mean, what a wonderful person you are! That it's been great to get to know you over the past few years and the wonderful work that you're doing. So, thank you for that.
Thank you, Mark, for your tireless work as well.
And thank you all for joining us on today's PMEA's Take Note podcast presented by the Slippery Rock University Music Department. We will see you next time.